Kia ora everybody. Now, he was a mathematician ahead of his day. He was a genius in thought and logic. He was the man who, without modern technology, accurately measured the size of the Earth. He was, of course, Eratosthenes of Cyrene. Eratosthenes was born 276 BCE in Cyrene, or modern-day Libya. In his youth, Eratosthenes studied under the likes of Lysanias of Cyrene, Ariston of Chios, and of course, Callimachus. He would of course eventually leave Cyrene, and he spent a few years studying in the great city of Athens. Now, despite being a scholar of every regard, he always seemed to miss out on highest place, and this led him to earn the nickname of Beta. In 245 BCE, Ptolemy III of Egypt convinced Eratosthenes to join his former tutor Callimachus at the Great Library of Alexandria, where Callimachus was currently serving as the second librarian to the Great Library. Ptolemy appointed Eratosthenes as tutor to his son Belopodor. By 240 BCE, Callimachus had died, and Ptolemy had appointed Eratosthenes the third librarian to the Great Library. Now he had access to all the knowledge contained within the Great Library. And the Great Library, well, it had hundreds of thousands of texts. Eratosthenes, he wasted no time, and while at the library, he wrote the Pleionikas that dealt with the mathematics which underlay Plato's philosophy. He wrote the Chronographica to accurately determine Mediterranean events, including the Siege of Troy in 1184 BCE. Other works included the Geographica, in which he took reports from different traveller groups and used them to describe the features in each region. Also, to explain those features using natural phenomena. However, his most famous work, well, that was truly global. Now, despite what the Flat Earth crew will tell you, the Greeks knew Earth was a sphere for a long time. Pythagoras first proposed the idea back in 500 BCE. However, this was based solely on the idea that the sphere was a perfect shape. Aristotle, who lived between 384 and 322 BCE, used actual physical evidence, such as ships disappearing bottom first, the fact that the Earth casts a round shadow on the moon during lunar eclipses, and also the fact that the constellations would change when moving between latitudes. All of this proved the shape of the Earth. So, by 236 BCE, Eratosthenes knew the Earth was a sphere. However, how big a sphere? That was the question. Now, it was while he was working on the Geographica when he realized if he wanted to build a map of the Earth, well, he better know the size. He heard from one of the traveling groups about an interesting well in Syene, modern-day Aswan, Egypt. At noon on the summer solstice, the sun would illuminate the entirety of the bottom of the well, but cast no shadows. Now this meant that the sun had to be directly overhead. Eratosthenes then measured the length of a shadow cast by a stick in Alexandria during the summer solstice. Now he found that the angle of the shadow was around 7.2 degrees, or about 1/50th of a circle. Next, Eratosthenes hired a surveyor to measure the distance between Alexandria and Syene. Once he had the distance, he'd done a wee bit of the math and concluded that the size of the Earth had to be around 250,000 stadia, or in modern terms, around 24,000 and 29,000 miles. Now, of course, today we know that the Earth is 24,900 miles at the equator. So, not too bad for a man with a stick and no calculator. By 255 BCE, Eratosthenes had been appointed director of the Great Library in Alexandria, where he continued to work on several writings, including poems on astronomy and many works of ethics. In 155 BCE, suffering from blindness, it is believed that Eratosthenes died by voluntarily starving himself. The legacy of Eratosthenes still resonates with us. His theories of math, music, geography are still used to this day, and children across the world are recreating the experiment he first conducted to measure the size of the Earth over 2,000 years ago. So, thank you so much for watching. And ka kite.